So how are we doing today then, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Okay, I've been up and I've done my morning swim. I've done my morning cardio, so I've set myself up nice. So
I've seen on Instagram that you've been out rollerblading already.
I have. Yeah, I can't run. I used to run when I was I think from about 15 to about 23. I was running a lot,
Right.
and I can't stand it. I honestly can't stand it anymore. I've tried it and I've got so bad. When lockdown started, I did it wasn't even a 5K, and oh my god, it must have took me about 45 minutes. Terrible.
What was that from, like injuries or something on the knees and all that, or just mentally you find it boring?
I find it boring now. Yeah, I really find it boring. And I've gone through the whole listening to podcasts on the headphones and music and stuff, and I just need a massive challenge. So I've taken up rollerblades again. I look like an absolute tosser going down the seafront, but do you know what? I don't care. And it's great. You know, I can get up to like 20 miles an hour on it, which is pretty good. And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun, honestly.
You've got a pretty young family as well, haven't you? So I bet it's something you can do with the kids and that as well, isn't it? So
I'm struggling to get my kids off screens at the minute, but sometimes my little girl, she'll like to come out, and occasionally we go out later at night. A couple of them on the bikes, a couple of us on the blades. So yeah.
Sweet. So I've been keeping up with what you've been up to on Instagram, and before we get into like the martial arts and jiu-jitsu and all that kind of stuff, I just want to know about, first of all, spiders, indoor boarding, and morning doodling.
Yeah. I'm absolutely fascinated by spiders. I think they're the particular type of spider, the jumping spiders, are really intelligent. And I've been trying to find something to draw, something to paint, and they're just lovely to paint. But mind you, since I've been a kid, I've been fascinated by insects. I've got loads of bugs. I've got loads of I keep stick insects. I've had, it's just stuff I've done since I was a kid. Yeah. And
is that from like when you were younger and you go and explore and go into woods and that, and you find these little insects? Is that where that's come from, or?
Yeah,
it
really has, and it's stuck with me. And on the I think on the path of mental health, I think I'm searching for all of the little things that made me happy as a kid.
Right.
And I'm bringing it back into my life now and into my children's life. So all of these things, that I used to do, I'm making a part of my life again, because over my life, I've you just let everything. I had a period of letting everything go.
Right.
And I was just a fighter. That was it. I was just fighting, and that's all it was. And I just let everything go. Everything else just went by the wayside. So you find that single point focus, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's paid off. Don't get me wrong. It's worked for me very, very well. And now I'm in a really exciting part of my life where I'm doing all the stuff that I used to do when I was younger.
Yeah. It's funny though, isn't it, that we do these things when we're younger, and all these childlike qualities and being fascinated by things. And as we get older, it's seen as like not acceptable, but almost like ridiculed and frowned upon a little bit. And I think it's important, like you're doing, that we bring these things that we enjoyed as a child, we can try and incorporate them as we get older.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of life. Is again, these are through the state of my mental health.
Yeah.
That's made me search for these things. Is play. You've got to play. And I don't know if it's just me or some other parents find this, but sometimes it's quite difficult to play with your kids.
Right.
You find things get in the way and stuff. And I think if you take time to play the things that you like to play, and then you can involve,
yeah,
it sort of spreads. like wildfire. It sort of spreads, and when you're playful with yourself, I think, you know, the kids definitely see me messing around and doing stuff, and they get involved.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. I mean, you know, rollerblading down the seafront. I was the only guy there this morning. There were so many people. It was 7 o'clock. So many people down there, and you get some looks. But do you know what? You've just got to do it, man.
I know. There's been so I've done 12 of these podcasts so far, and the way they came about was I set up a not-for-profit. It's called the CIC Community Interest Company. I set that up about 2 years ago, and it's all about improving the mental and physical well-being of the community, basically. Yeah. So obviously, when lockdown happened, I can't necessarily do the physical side of it. So I thought, well, how can I try and improve people's mental well-being during the lockdown?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily want to be the one who's on camera saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, because I don't feel I'm that person. But I thought, well, I can get guests on, I can get people who I'm sort of know through me circle, who can inspire people and motivate people through their own stories. And one of the regular themes that has come up is similar to your point, Jeff, is we do these things now, and the reason why people don't maybe go rollerblading or do other things that they want to do is for fear of failure or for fear of being judged and being ridiculed. And I think if we could pass that on to kids that don't have these fears, if you can get over the fear of being judged, the fear of being ridiculed, the fear of failure, children and our young adults will absolutely thrive. I don't know what it is that is instilled in us to have these fears of probably
Shame.
from like, pardon?
Shame, isn't it?
Shame, yeah. I suppose it's a deep fear from like our ancestors of hunter-gatherers being thrown out of the tribe.
Yeah.
But if we can get rid of these fears and start embracing stuff, then the kids and young adults will just thrive, won't they?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. That would be really good. I've since my gym's closed, my little boy, he's 13. His social circle has kind of collapsed,
right?
Because the gym, as for a lot of other kids as well, I should imagine, that was their social thing. I was taking them there 4 times a week. They'd interact with other kids, and he's a teenager now, and we can't even get him out to go for a walk around the local area for fear of his friends seeing him and stuff like that. So you know, I know teenagers are a different thing, aren't they? They are a different thing.
Yeah.
But I'd like to, you know, I hope that what I'm doing is infectious for them. You know, infectious for the kids and other people as well. Other people that have just become stuck in the mud.
I know. I think one thing that might come out of the lockdown is people are starting to experiment and try things that they've never tried before, just to pass a bit of time. Really, that's all it is. But it might hopefully inspire people to. I know there's a lot of my mates who are kind of they go to the gym, they work out, they do jiu-jitsu, but they're all started cooking and baking.
Brilliant.
Just to do stuff in the house and that. So that might start a new passion for doing something like that. So there could be positives come out of it, couldn't there?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of people have started doing different things, haven't they? Which is nice. Yeah, that is good, David. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So how important is your morning routine, Jeff? I know you started. Did you say you've already been for the cold water dip in the sea this morning?
Yeah, I've done the cold water dip. My morning routine has changed dramatically over lockdown. But so prior to lockdown, my morning routine was get to the gym 6:30 till 7:30. We were doing jiu-jitsu. I was either teaching, sometimes I was joining in, but it was, you know, I was getting involved.
Yeah.
And then it was come home, and then it was a number of spiritual practices that I would go through. So I'd do a bit of meditation, sometimes a bit of just have a bit of a boogie while I'm washing up, or you know, a lot of you know, I'm big up on the whole spiritual sort of side of our existence. I really am, and all of those things are really really helpful for me. So yeah, the morning routine, sorry, was jiu-jitsu, and then it was meditation, and then it was either a bit of a boogie, or that was it.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously I don't take into account things like brushing your teeth and having a glass of water and all those little bits and pieces, which, you know, that I know for some people they've got to write it down. I was talking to someone the other day, they've got to write down their morning routine. You know, they get up, they get out of bed, they're writing all of this down, they have a glass of water.
Right.
That works for some people. The way that I do it, just marking down the big things that need to get done, that works for me.
Yeah.
So now, my morning routine now, at the moment, has been on lockdown. This is the one that I've stayed with until this morning, was cold water swim in the ocean.
Yeah.
Every day. And I did about 20 to 30 minutes on the Indo board, balance. And then I'd make sure that I got drawing.
Right.
So I just draw. So I'm just churning out those sketches and things like that because it's part of a practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's part of that daily practice. And
is the drawing kind of a variation on a journal, kind of like journaling, but through abstract pictures and doodling and stuff like that? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. In a lot of the pictures that I draw, I will write down an absolute torrent of swear words that I want to say to a particular person.
Yeah,
I've got one to do this morning, and as soon
it's
as
not about me, is it, for making you do this today? No.
No, it's just a certain trigger. I found a certain trigger this morning, and I'm going to incorporate that into this morning's picture, and you can just let it go. You know, that's how, you know, it's good for me like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started journaling more for productivity, to be honest. So rather than what was going on in my head trying to get it down on paper, it was more of everything I'm going to try and do today. And it was a set out journal. It wasn't just blank pages. There was a structure to it. So it was people you've got to deal with today, how you're going to deal with them, what kind of intentions do you want to have today. And then it had the diary of hour blocks, what you're going to try and get done. And then at the end of the day, you reflect on it and, did things go well? Did this meeting go well? How did this interaction with this person go well? What about your physical side of it, the mental, the emotional? So it's more of a productivity journal rather than getting that headspace down on paper. But I found that has helped me, definitely. Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, really, really good. I tried that, and that didn't work for me because I know that I'd never go back and read it. So
Right.
at the end of the day, to reflect on it, I wouldn't. And that's a good practice to have. You know, like you said, I think that's a good thing to do, because if you can go back and reflect on it, great. But if you're like me and you know you're not going to do it, just looking at a picture is easy. You know, that helps. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that approach.
Talk to me about the cold water therapy. How did that come about? I've been reading and I've had a few conversations with people recently about who are incorporating like Wim Hof breathing methods and stuff, and the cold water therapy. How did you end up stumbling upon that, or was it something you consciously thought about doing?
So at the gym, we've got loads of different people there, and one of the guys there, I think he's ex-military. So he's had a few things go on in his life, and he's been just a few times. He said to me, Jeff, let's get to see. You know, let's. It's only a few minutes. That's all it is. And he just sort of sowed that seed in my head. And then I posted it a couple of times in our private gym group.
Right.
If anyone fancies a cold water dip after training. No, I think I did that. I posted it in December. Nothing happened. Posted it in January. Nothing happened. And then towards the end of January, I posted it, totally expecting, you know, in my heart, I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But totally expecting it not to happen. Anyway, my friend and my student turned up at the gym, and he went, right, Jeff, let's go. and there were no bones about it. You know, it was a systematic military approach. It wasn't like, oh, let's sit on the beach, cross our legs, meditate, and all that. He was
straight in. Boom.
He was like, look, as soon as your toes touch that water, I'm going to count to 20 seconds, and then your head is under the water. That's it.
Yeah.
He said, and then we wait, we move around if you want to, and it's 200 seconds, I think. And that's how we started in the start of February. And I've met several different groups that are doing it, and I've sort of stuck with this group now because over lockdown we were keeping it. I mean, I was going out every day over lockdown,
right?
But literally, it was first thing in the morning, you know, and it was me and one other person, and we were out, you know, and we're up to about. I mean, I think we're about 45 minutes we're doing now.
Nice, yeah.
But proper swimming. I mean, the sea's still cold, but you know, it's great, and I think it was for the health benefits. You know, the health benefits of this is strange. One of the things, physical things that happened was. I mean, in jiu-jitsu, we use our hands and our forearms a hell of a lot, don't we? It's massive on the back muscles, but, you know, we're gripping all the time. And the first few dips that I did, my forearms ached for, you know, a good couple of hours afterwards. Right. They were really hurting. And it wasn't until I did some searching on it that it got sort of, you know, it made sense why they were hurting. So if you imagine that all this lactic acid and stuff's built up in your muscles over the years, what the cold does is it squeezes the blood out, you know, and it squeezes your lymphatic system and it squeezes it out. So all of this old stuff out of your muscles is coming out. I can't remember the exact terms of it, but it's all coming out, and then it gets quickly replaced with new fresh blood.
Right.
So they don't ache at all. Nothing aches when I go in anymore. Nothing aches because it sort of flushes. It basically is flushing and flushing. So it took a good couple of weeks before they stopped aching my muscle. And because it's, you know, it's a flushing of the system.
Yeah.
You imagine you've got old toxins built up in the muscles. Toxins are stored in the muscles, and it's difficult for the system to flush them out. Shock it into flushing it out with the freezing cold, and that's one of the big benefits for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's cleaning out my muscles, it's cleaning out my system.
Yeah.
But above all of that was pride. I've never been so proud of myself for getting off my ass and doing something that was really uncomfortable. You know, that was, you know, I got back in the car, freezing, shaking, everything, and it was just pride. I was so happy that I did it. You know? And it's something that's really stuck, and it's definitely something that is post, pre, and after lockdown, during, it's going to stay with me now. The cold water stuff's going to stay with me. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think it's important. I know the word resilience gets thrown around, especially now in lockdown, but things like that, getting out your comfort zone, being uncomfortable, trying something, putting a lot of stress on the body, you build that resilience. So then when you are going through maybe like a bit of adversity or certain issues in your life, you can draw back on that experience, can't you? And the things you got from it, that resilience that you got from it, that pride that you got from it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is important to make things that help you a bit more of a habit. Because then I think you can subconsciously draw on it rather than you have to think back, oh, you know, remember how good I was at getting in that cold water. I think if you make it a habit, it becomes unconscious. Right. You know, it's more autopilot, and you sort of snap out of the feeling straight away. This morning's trigger that I had this morning while I was rollerblading. You know, through doing the cold water stuff and that becoming a habit, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Whereas I would have let it sort of bog me down before, and I thought, oh, you know, but that's part of it.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of it. That's not all of it, but that's part of it.
Yeah. I've a similar thing that happened to me. I've always been quite self-conscious of, and similar to a lot of people really, but like talking in public, talking in front of crowds and all that kind of stuff, and being the center of attention, if you like.
Yeah.
And it's only through doing a number of these podcasts, and I coach at a jiu-jitsu club as well now, back up north.
Oh, brilliant.
So I'm in front of the class coaching and teaching, and it's only through doing that and stepping out of my comfort zone that now, like talking to you now, maybe several months ago might have been a little bit nerve-wracking, a bit daunting, but subconsciously, like you said, I've just automatically drawn back on the experience of teaching in front of people, talking in front of people, whereas this is quite a natural process now, whereas several months ago it would have been a bit nervous, a bit clunky, maybe a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
So you're right in what you're saying. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to think about drawing on them experiences. They happen quite subconsciously. Let me just let the dog out, Jeff. I won't be a minute.
Right.
She's a sun worshipper. As soon as the sun comes out, she wants to get it garden and bask in the sun.
What is it?
Alsatian Cross.
Okay, nice.
She's a rescue dog, and they didn't have a full breeding history in the kennels when we rescued her. So she's got Alsatian in her, but some people have said maybe cross with a Husky or a Doberman. That type of look like, but yeah, she's good as gold. Yeah.
Nice.
She's spoilt anyway. She gets what she asks for, like so.
Yeah, a lot of dogs do, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about the going with the cold water therapy, the breathing aspects and the meditation stuff? What kind of breath work are you doing?
I wasn't. No, I wasn't. I did a last year. Well, it must be coming up for 2 years now, actually. I did a yoga instructor's course, and we did a lot of breathing in that. Pranayama, it's called in yoga. And I never really got on with it. I've got asthma, which isn't an excuse. But I never really got on with that. And I've just downloaded the Wim Hof app as well.
Yeah.
I've started with that, but I find that really difficult. You know, the cold water I've been doing, that's no problem. But I do know that the breath stuff is something that I've got to address. And I've started doing it, and I will continue to do it. Not every day, that I haven't made it fully integrated that into my daily practice yet. But I want to.
Yeah.
But my breathing's terrible. I could roll for hours. I could do jiu-jitsu for hours, but to go on a 4K run kills me. You know, I can do miles on the rollerblades, but you know, put me on a bike, terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. You know, things like I can ride a bike, obviously. But, you know, to put me on. I mean, I used to go. Big cycles, big cycles with a client of mine. I think he was probably 60, and I was 35, and they would leave me standing, and I was training hard. You know, I was fit. Just couldn't do it. There's just some things I just don't think you're made, your body's made to do. But anyway, the breathing has always been a problem for me, and it's something I need to address. I've just finished
a book, funnily enough, while we're talking about breath work and that. I've just finished a book. It's out on Kindle at the moment, but I think it's out in hardback in the next few days, or it's just come out, by a guy called James Nestor.
Okay.
And his previous book was about free diving. So obviously holding the breath for long periods of time. And he went and did loads of he's only a journalist. He's not like an athlete or anything, but he was obsessed with free diving and the science behind it. And he went on a long 10-year journey, and this new book called Breath is a culmination of his 10-year research into breath work and breathing.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, and his basically the overview of it is that we're avid overbreathers. We all breathe too much, so we should be breathing less, breathing quieter, and breathing through our nose. So all nasal breathing less, and breathing quieter. But it's a fascinating book. Like, if you want, I can send you a link to it. Afterwards. But it really changed the way I thought. I've looked at the Wim Hof stuff. I've dabbled in it a little bit, but with all like the heavy breathing and quick intakes of breath, I didn't necessarily know the reasons why I was doing it. So this book explains all that, but it has a few different protocols in it, not just Wim Hof's method, which he took from, I think, a protocol called Tummo. Tummo breathing is the earlier variation of what Wim Hof has now brought into the masses. But it's a fascinating book, yeah. But
wow.
Apparently we're avid over breathers. We breathe too much.
Yes, there's a lot of people I know that are breathing too much.
Yeah.
I've got a book that I haven't delved into yet. It's by Stanislav Grof.
All right.
And it's called Holotropic Breathwork. And that's going into the more psychedelic side of the breathwork. You know, it's interesting. I might pick it up because I've run out of books to read. Well, I'll read a book and then I have about 2 months off.
All right.
And then I really get into it again. So I will try that. But that book, please send me a link.
Yeah, it's out on Kindle, but I think the proper hardback release is around this time it's coming out, because he's on all sorts of podcasts at the moment and Facebook articles and that to publicise this book. But it's fascinating, and he goes into all the different, like I said, the different protocols, the origins behind it, why they're effective, the science behind it as well, which is what I couldn't get my head around. I didn't know why I was doing the Wim Hof breathing method. What is it doing? What's it good for? So this
makes your system alkaline, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then you can start to control your immune system and stuff, and all stuff like that. But it's a fascinating book. Definitely recommend reading that. Yeah,
I'll get it. I love a new book.
I tend to like where you're talking about, you read a book, or you read a few chapters and then you forget about it. I'm one of them people that if I get something in my head, I'll go down the rabbit hole with it, and then weeks and weeks after it, go down the rabbit hole, immerse myself in as much of it as I can, and then I'll just put it to one side and maybe never come back to it. So that's something I need to like work on, that once I forget about something and leave it after I've immersed myself in it, that's it. Then I become obsessed with something, and then I just leave it then after like 6 months. So,
but that's then that goes back to the importance of routine, doesn't it? And I mean, how many routines? I was talking to someone about this the other day. My therapist, I was talking to it about the other day. He's a friend of mine anyway. But you know, how many daily morning practices could you throw into the mix? I mean, it's an unreal. You could be going all day.
Yeah.
Couldn't you?
I know.
You know, if I'd have 6 or 7 that I could be doing, you know, right now, 6 or 7 practices that I could be doing. And that's not even including like reading. And they say read about 25 pages a day of something you're not even interested in.
Right.
For your head, you know. You know, who's going to do that? Do you know what I mean?
It could be till dinner. Your morning routine could take you till dinner, couldn't it?
Oh, easy.
Or lunch.
Easily. Yeah. But they're all good. It's all good.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important to have, even if it's just 3 or 4 little things that you do in the morning to set yourself up for the day. And I don't know if you've watched, I can't remember his name now, but a very decorated American Navy SEAL
David Goggins.
It's not him, no. He gives like a decorated speech about make your bed in the morning. I can't remember his name now, but he's similar to David Goggins. He talks about like dealing with adversity and getting out your comfort zone. But his whole thing is just get up in the morning, make your bed. If you don't achieve anything else that day, you've done one productive thing in the morning, you've made your bed. If the day's a shit day and it's crap, at least you get back into a nicely made, fresh bed. He said, so win the morning, you win the day, just make your bed. And he goes into this whole 20-minute monologue about overcoming adversity and that. But yeah, it is similar to David Goggins, like. But yeah, he's a fascinating character as well, and he's pretty hardcore, like.
I'll have a look at that.
Yeah. If I can find it, I'll send you the link to that as well after it. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Quite motivating, and I think you can get overwhelmed with, like you just said then, trying to incorporate 20 different morning routines because you've read how beneficial it is. And maybe sometimes getting out of bed in itself and making it is your win for that day. Maybe.
Brilliant.
You know what I mean?
I've never thought that. But it's so clear and simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
We just don't think things can be that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I spoke to an early retire. He retired through injury, but he was a professional rugby league player, Jamie Acton. I spoke to him in one of the earlier podcasts, and he was saying that for him, the hardest thing once he'd retired, and he retired prematurely through his injury, was the motivation to do anything else, because his identity was all around being this professional rugby league player. That was who he was and had been since the age of 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And the hardest thing after he retired was the motivation to actually get out of bed in the morning. All he wanted to do was curl up under the covers and not face the day and not face up to trying to create a new reality for himself. And the hardest thing for him was to put his trainers on and get out of bed in the morning. So sometimes that's enough, isn't it? Just to get out of bed, face the day. You have a choice at the end of the day, don't you? You can choose to stay in bed, and not face the day or not leave your house. And he chose to get up and
brilliant.
Yeah.
But I tell you what I struggle with, because I don't fight and actual doing MMA fighting anymore. I struggle with staying fit. So I go back to my boy, he's 13. He is obsessed with doing pull-ups, and he'll do loads in a day, loads of pull-ups.
Has he been watching Goggins, has he?
He hasn't, but do you know what? I might get him onto that, because and he's doing weights in his room, and I walked into his room. It must have been 5 to 12, and he was dripping in sweat.
Right.
And he just literally put the dumbbells down, 5 to 12 at night. So he's good with that. He's got the motivation that I used to have.
Yeah.
And now I've found that by not having jiu-jitsu 4 or 5 times a week, your fitness just drops.
Yeah.
And I'm not motivated, and I know that I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to pick a dumbbell up. I'm not going to do any pull-ups or anything. And I want to.
Yeah.
Just haven't got the motivation to do it.
Is that because it's the activity? Because you are obviously like trying all different, like, considered unconventional methods, rollerblading, when ocean dipping, the indoor, is that correct? Indoor board, is that what you call it?
Indoor board, yeah.
Indoor board. So is it just the activity itself that you can't get your head around and can't get motivated to do, like just lifting weights, moving weights?
Oh yeah, it just bores the crap out of me. Because don't get me wrong, I started lifting weights when I was probably about 14 or 15.
Right.
And then it, as time went on, I'd gone through everything, and then probably about 15. Oh, was it 15? Probably about 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah. Started
doing all the high intensity stuff before it became popular, before
like CrossFit and all that, you mean?
I did CrossFit for a little bit. That made me a little bit too my muscles used more of my cardio than the actual the actual fight did.
Yeah.
I found I was really strong, but my cardio got really bad from doing that. But no, doing like all the ball slams and the alligator walks and the monkey drills and all the things you do as martial artists, really. But then just incorporating that to a bit of bag work and then steps and hills and things. I was even doing swimming pool. I had a trainer that I said, look, this is what I want to do, and he just said, Jeff, you write your program, I'll make sure you do it. It was great. So because I'm a personal trainer anyway. Well, I hadn't done it for years. And I was doing underwater training, and I think I've done everything.
Yeah.
As far as training goes, and I just got so bored of it. Do you know what I mean? When you're done with something, it almost feels like you're done with it.
And I've got a few mates who have served in the Royal Marines and they've now left the Marines, but a similar thing, whereas because the training is so intense and so grueling, and you do it for so long, even before joining up, to be fit to pass it.
Yeah.
And you do, like, I think Royal Marines is 33-week training course or whatever. So you do that, and they've left now and they don't train at all, because when they were in the Marines, you do it for that long, you do that much of it. When they've come out now, they're just like, I've had enough with it. I'm up to here with it. I'm not interested in it anymore. I'm not motivated in it, because I've done it in such a concentrated amount of time and done so much. I'm not into it anymore. So
that's exactly how I feel, David. And do you know what? I'd like to break that.
Right.
I'd like to break that, because I know how important, especially I'm 42 this year, and I'm still young, really. But I understand the benefits of resistance training.
Yeah.
Especially getting older. And I want to, man, I'm heavier than I've ever been. I was about 86 kilos, because I love a beer, of an evening. But I could get away with having a beer when jiu-jitsu was on. Now jiu-jitsu isn't on, I can't get away with it.
Yeah. When was the last time you competed? Was it the Polaris?
Yes, Polaris.
Last time? What weight was that?
About 80 kilos.
Right.
Yeah, it was about 80 kilos, I think. Catch weight, 78, 80 kilos. And that's my walking around weight. And I'm quite short for that. Really, I should be, for someone as active as me, I should be about 73, probably.
Right.
Walking around at that, but I'm not at all. Yeah.
So what's been happening with the gym over lockdown? Have you been doing any remote classes, or is it completely shut? Have you not been doing anything?
Shut. Yeah. Yes, completely shut. A few people have asked me to do remote classes, but that's just not my thing, man.
Yeah.
I can't do it, and remote classes for jiu-jitsu are so limited.
I know.
I should have, my friend's been on at me to do an app for years and years and years. And he said to me the other day, he said, Jeff, that app I've been on at you about? He said, you could have cleaned up now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I was watching something the other day with Henna and Heron Gracie, and they've got the Gracie University now, haven't they? And that's took them like 10 years to get to this point, to build up the catalogue of techniques and syllabus and all that. And he was talking the other day that people were asking him, like, why is he doing it? What is the benefit going to be 8-9 years ago? And the benefit is 10 years in the future, we have this predicament that we find ourselves in. People can still use all the curriculum now as though nothing's ever changed. So hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. It really is.
So have you not been, how have you kept yourself? I know you've just saying you're struggling with motivation, but have you been drilling any techniques? Have you been watching videos? Have you been doing any jiu-jitsu at all? Anything?
Yeah. I've got a big decking that I built out of scaffold boards, and I can fit 9 mats on there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I've got 9 mats at home, and my little boy, he's taller than me, and he's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was 4, and he's 13 now. So he's a great training partner, really, really good training partner. But we do it a couple of times a week. We're not doing it every single day. It's a couple of times a week, and it's good. And I showed him how to taught him how to heel hook the other day.
Right.
And he has been catching me with them left, right, and centre. It's just crazy. He's going to be really good. He's going to be. He's got super strong. Like I say, he's doing pull-ups and workouts all the time, and he's going to be super strong. But he does crank a heel hook on.
touching on that before we get into the martial arts and the jiu-jitsu and stuff, how important do you think it is to teach heel hooks to beginners and to kids and stuff? Or do you think it's something, because there's different trains of thought in there? There's some people who won't touch them until, I don't know, maybe blue belt, and then there's other people who will train them from very early on.
Okay. Right, with that, I think I'm not an IBJJF fan.
Right.
And I think that the rules that a lot of academies live by, and I'm the same, is that people aren't trusted enough to show them deadly techniques.
Yeah.
You know, and we all moan about the other martial arts that don't train. We can't train this properly because we kill someone, we do this, we do that, and then we're doing it in our academies. We're doing it in our academies with wrist locks, we're doing it in our academies with heel hooks. You know, we say, oh, you're new. You know, you couldn't possibly have the mental inclination to not break someone's knee. And of course, there are people that are like that.
Yeah.
But there are people like that at all levels, not just at white belt. You know, so I think that people should have the knowledge, and the longer they have the knowledge to do all of these things, the better their jiu-jitsu will become, and the more able they are to decide whether they should break this person's knee or wrist, or, you know, they can make up their own decision, and you know, they'll know that it's wrong.
Yeah.
So the knowledge of, like, you know, we can't do knee bars until we're brown belt. Yeah, but I can do a head and arm throw on someone and spike them into the mat.
Yeah.
From day one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't heel hook them, but I can completely paralyze their spine. You've just got to be sensible, and you've just got to be grown up about it. And I think we're shackled by the rules of the IBJJF. And you know, if I had a gym full of meatheads, which I haven't, then it would probably be a problem. A load of egos and a load of people trying to mess each other up. But I haven't got that. I've got I've got a really lovely community of people, the same as it was at Kev's.
Yeah.
When you were at Kev's.
Yeah.
And I think the more knowledge they have, the better it is.
Yeah. So how do you approach it? Is it a catch and release, or is it slowly increase the pressure? Don't wait till there's any discomfort. Is that
one thing? It would be catch and release. I haven't done no gi for ages. I haven't done no gi since lockdown. And like I said, my academy was one of the academies where, oh no, you know, you mustn't do this, you mustn't do that. Yeah. But going back, I'm gonna give people more knowledge, and I'm gonna say, let's do this, let's do that. But my no-gi instructor, one of my black belts, they're doing heel hooks all the time. Yeah, you know, all the time. So
it's a massive part of the game as well now, isn't it? You see all the submission only, grapple fest, and all the American promotions and that. Without that knowledge, then no one's going to be able to compete and be competitive in those rule sets, are there? Without the knowledge of the heel hooks and that.
Yeah, everyone needs to know. They need to know it.
Yeah. And as more young people are watching these promotions, and the Gordon Ryans, and I don't want to use the word cool, but people are more engaged, in my opinion, to the no-gi now rather than the gi of the IBJJF competitions.
They really are.
So young kids are going to want to learn the heel hooks and the leg locks and all the techniques that they see the heroes or the role models using. Yeah. But
then be sensible with it.
You're going to have to turn around and go, oh, you can't learn that until you're blue belt, so they'll just go and train somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just knowledge. You know, I think one of the things with jiu-jitsu is you have to really pass on what you've learned.
Yeah.
And it's the what do we call it? I can't think of the word now. When you're passing something, what's the word? When you're passing something on, you're preserving the knowledge.
Oh, right.
And it's that sort of knowledge that you're moving forward.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that we do. Have you been to, David, when did you leave our group?
2015. I got me blue belt in May 2015, and around September time I relocated back up north then.
Oh, okay. What grade are you now then?
Purple.
Nice.
Purple, three stripes, purple.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have been around when we went under Yuki Nakai, would you?
No.
Well, he's amazing, and some of the things some of the things that he's doing from his background is, you know, it's just fantastic. And a lot of the stuff he does is old judo. And I don't think that we should lose that. I don't think that. I think that should be preserved. So, you know, the knowledge. For me, I think the importance of grappling is preserving the knowledge, and I've always done that with my judo. You know, just preserve the knowledge. You know, pass on what you've learned from, and that's how you keep people. That's how you keep people alive, isn't it? That's how you keep memories alive and things like that. And, oh, Dave, where'd you learn that technique? Oh, so, you know, oh, Jeff showed me that technique. And where did he go? Oh, he got it from Yuki, and Yuki got it from, you know, going back, you know.
And that's an amazing thing, isn't it? To be able to do that is amazing, isn't it?
I just like the preserving of the knowledge, you know. Yeah.
So, talking about your judo background, was that your first sort of martial art that you started learning when you were younger? Judo? Yeah. How young were you?
I was 8. I went into judo when I was 8. I broke my elbow a few months in, so I had a couple of quite a bit of time off. And then I went back and just stuck at it, and I did it all the time. I think I did judo for about 30 years.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been a massive part of my life. Yeah, judo. Halfway through there, I went into MMA, and then realised that I'm going to need to start being able to kick and punch.
Right.
So then I went into a little bit of striking.
How did you adapt the judo then into MMA? Obviously, without a gi on. What was that easy to adapt?
Overhooks and underhooks and headlocks.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because no one was doing no gi. Back when I started fighting, there was only a few people doing it.
Okay.
Just back then when I started, it was easy to get hold of someone.
Right.
It was easy, you know, because their striking wasn't the people that I fought. Don't get me wrong, these are the people that I fought. Their striking wasn't an anti-grapple sort of striking. They was doing the striking that they'd learned. Whereas now, you know, if you put a good striker against a good grappler, the good striker is going to know exactly what the grappler's going to do and how they need to move and stuff. But back when I was doing it, they didn't have a clue, so it was bloody easy to get hold of people and arm lock them. It was. Yeah. It was. Yeah.
And at what point then did you? Because it was season 9, The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
Season 9.
Yeah.
How long into your career then was that experience? How long have you been fighting before you sort of went for that?
Loads. Yeah. A good few years, because I think I had a really good win streak. I had about, I can't remember if it's 8 to 12 wins, back-to-back wins I had. I can't remember exactly. I really can't. But from that, that's what got me in.
Yeah.
You know, when I started pro, I started out with 3 wins, and then I had 2 losses. One of those is a little bit controversial, but the second one is against Andre Winner. The second loss that I'd ever had was against Andre Winner, and Andre Winner was doing what we just said about knowing how to deal with a grappler. He was the first one. I'd had 14 fights leading up to that fight against people that didn't have a clue how to stop grapplers. Andre Winner, coming from the amazing team Rough House that he was part of with Jimmy Wallhead, Dean Amasinger,
Dan Hardy, that was he.
And Dan Hardy, yeah. They knew, you know, they knew what to do, and he filled me in basically.
What was the gym you were fighting out of?
Huh?
What gym was you fighting out of then, Jeff?
Bulldog.
Right.
Yeah, the Bulldog gym, and
there was
in Bournemouth. Yeah. And there was no MMA there. I've never had an MMA coach the whole time I've been fighting. Never.
All right.
And yeah. So then that got me in. After that, I striked a little bit, and then I had to go back to the drawing board to look at it, and then got back in.
Yeah.
10. I think it was 8 to 12 wins. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But then that got me an interview. Flew through the interview and then got selected. Won the fight to get into the house, and that was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was that experience like of being in that? Was it Bisping who was the coach of the UK team? Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that
He's
whole experience like? Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Well, he was. He's from up your way. He's not there now.
Yeah.
It was amazing. The whole thing is, once in a lifetime. I'd never forget that. It's a real privilege to have been good enough to have been selected for that, and that has been the turning point for how successful my gym has been.
Oh, right. Fantastic.
Yeah. And the team that I've moved into, and it's really served me well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really, really served me well. And living with 14 other lads, older guys, younger guys, was a little bit hard at times, and being away from family was hard at times, and having no communication.
Yeah. How long is it for then? Because obviously the edited version is different, but how long are you actually in the house for?
I want to say 5 weeks.
Right, and you're not allowed mobile phones or anything.
Nothing.
There's no contact. No.
Yeah, there was barely any social media when we did it, though.
I can imagine. Yeah. What year was that? 2008? Was it?
2009.
2009.
Yeah, 2009. There was no Facebook then.
Right.
There's no
no Instagram. No.
I think what it was MySpace.
All right.
MySpace. People adding me on MySpace. God, ridiculous. So it's something that I'll never forget, because it served me well. Yeah.
So then once you came out of that experience, how long did you keep fighting after that? And then at what point did you decide to open a gym?
A couple of years. I fought for a couple more years after that. And then I went down to featherweight. Right. So 65. I weighed in at 64 kilos for some fights. And I had a couple of wins, couple of losses again.
Yeah.
And it was coming out of there was hard.
Right.
Because I came out thinking I was, amazing. That's what I came out thinking like that. First fight I had coming out of the house, I fought a big guy from Denmark, knocked me out, Sparko.
Oh, right. Wow.
And then I think I had another loss after that. It was terrible because it was when I was in there, I thought, oh yes, it was on top of the world, and then you come out, and I got brought back down to earth really quick. Couple of wins, couple of losses, fought in Japan, and then coming towards the end of it, one of my clients, my personal training client, said, look, maybe you could think about opening a gym up, because that's the natural thing of what we do. We either, if you've got a profession, you can stop fighting and go into your profession. If all you do is fight, I had nothing to fall back on. Yeah, I didn't. I certainly wasn't going to open a personal training studio, because that was all I was qualified in. So that's what I did. Opened a gym, and it's been great. Lots of ups and downs, but it's been brilliant.
Yeah, I was listening to so we're part of a Roger Gracie affiliation.
Yeah.
And throughout this lockdown, the headquarters down in London have given like a virtual platform to all the affiliates, so we've all been able to access that. And they've been having instead of all just classes and lessons and stuff and techniques, sometimes Roger Gracie's been coming on Zoom and talking about his particular matches that he's had or famous fights. And last Monday, funnily enough, they had John Danaher on.
Yeah.
Roger Gracie was interviewing John Danaher over this Zoom call that we could all have access to and that. And he said something quite interesting, that jiu-jitsu and MMA to a certain degree is one of the few kind of professions where it's automatically assumed that once you finish your career, you'll go into coaching or teaching.
Yeah.
Whereas rugby, maybe football, some people might go into coaching at football, but not a lot of people do. Golf, they probably wouldn't do. There's not a lot of other sports or activities where it's assumed the norm that when you finish your professional career, you go into teaching or coaching. And John Danaher's point was that just because you're a professional and you're amazing at the activity doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good at coaching or teaching that, or like we said before, passing that information forward. But he said it's an interesting thing that happens with jiu-jitsu. You're almost expected to teach and then pass it on to your career. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
That's worth thinking about, actually. It is, because it's so popular, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there are classes and schools and academies opening up everywhere.
I know.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And it's fantastic to see. I mean, it's something that I'm passionate about, and ever since training down at Kevin's place in Basingstoke, since that point, it's something that I've kept on doing, and it's obviously I'm only purple belt compared to yourself. I've not been doing it for very long at all compared to yourself, but it has helped me get through a lot of tough times and mental adversity, drawing back from whether the time on the mats or the principles that people teach you. It has helped me a lot, definitely. Yeah.
It does. It brings a lot of good to people's lives. It really does.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just love to have a grapple, don't they?
Yeah, well, it kind of covers every base, doesn't it? It's got the cerebral side of it if you're into the mental side of it, and the chess pieces and the chess games and the techniques. But then for those who just want to go to war for 5 minutes, you can get that natural aggression out that way, but it's controlled as well.
Yeah. My jiu-jitsu covers. I was speaking to Gareth Riddy about it.
Right. Yeah.
And have you read his book?
I've not, no, but I didn't realise he'd done the Raspberry 8 podcast. He was on Daniel Strauss's podcast a while ago. So I listened to that a few weeks ago, but yeah, I'll have a read of his book. Yeah, I'll get it.
It's brilliant. It's only thin. It's only a little book. It's you'll do it if you're a good reader in a day.
Right. Yeah.
But it is brilliant. You won't want to put it down when you pick it up.
Right.
But he's really into it, and he's coached me for a while. Really, really good. I did his course that he puts out, and he said jiu-jitsu covers all of the basic human needs. I think I couldn't tell you all the needs right now.
There's 6 of them, isn't there? Uncertainty, significance. There might be 8 actually, 6 or 8, something like that. Yeah. Significance, uncertainty.
Yeah.
Connection.
Giving back. There's connection. There's giving back, isn't there?
Contribution.
Contribution. Yeah. I can't remember them all.
I've never even thought about it that way, but that's really good.
He says it covers. He told me, he said it covers all of them, and when I said to him, could you remind me of that? He sent me a video on each of them.
All right.
Yeah,
nice.
And each one, it's just 10 seconds. Yeah, and it does. That's why it's important to our lives, and that connection bit is a big one for me. Yeah, definitely a big one for me is that connection thing. And I know a lot of other people don't like the connection stuff so much. That's why I couldn't get everything I needed from yoga. I went to yoga for my mental health stuff and to get back to it. And it's a big part of it. Don't get me wrong, it's a big part of it. But you can stay completely on your own in yoga without coming into contact with anyone. I'm not knocking it at all.
Yeah.
But for people like David, people like me and you, and all the other people that do jiu-jitsu, that probably haven't switched on to it yet, is that connection and that energy transference between people.
Yeah.
Is unreal. It's it's something that look at these children that grow up that have never been hugged before without affection. And I'm not saying that we're affectionate in jiu-jitsu, probably the reverse, but
it's something that's missing in everyday life, isn't it? As adults, when we go back to what we was on about before, that we lose these things as kids and we lose them as we get into adulthood and grow up. And one of them's being tactile and having contact. We don't have contact with people in the street, do we? I mean, you might do with your partners, wives, husbands, and girlfriends, but we don't have it with other human beings. It's not seen as socially acceptable, is it, to have contact with people?
Especially not now. It's ridiculous. No. Absolutely ridiculous. I think I love having a conversation with someone and they're touchy-feely, as long as they're not pervy.
Yeah.
If they're they put their hand on you and it's I like that. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's good. And now we're not allowed to bloody do any of that.
There was some study, again, I'm massively into podcasts, me, so I listen to all sorts of different podcasts and get all sorts of different kinds of information. But on one particular podcast episode, they were talking about touching and stuff, and I don't know the science behind it, so I'm going to butcher this, but on our back, we've got certain sensors that we can't reach ourselves that promote all this dopamine and stuff in our brain. And we need other people to be tactile to stroke these sensors on our back. So all it is if you're hugging someone, you'll automatically put your hand like just around the back of the shoulder blades.
Yeah.
And these sensors are there and they promote dopamine, all these chemicals in our brain. But we can't reach them ourselves. So the argument was that we've evolved to be tactile because people stroking our backs start to induce all these chemicals from these pads on the back of our shoulder blades.
Well, coaching kids and anyone, coaching anyone, right? Coaching anyone in jiu-jitsu, especially in what we do, right? More often than not, they sit, when they've lost a fight, they sit on the edge of the mat, head down, like that. What's the first thing you do as a coach? You rub their back, don't you? You just go, you put your hand on their back and you go, come on, man, it's going to be all right, you know. You probably did this wrong, did that wrong, or you should probably give up jiu-jitsu now. But you rub their back, don't you? You put your hand straight on their back. It's mental. And I've only just thought about that since you said that.
There's those sensors on the back that we can't physically reach ourselves, so we need other people to give us that, whatever it is.
I like that. Where did you see? What did you listen to that one on?
It's on a podcast called. It's by a doctor called Rangan Chatterjee.
Do you put episode notes on in your YouTube videos?
Yeah, I can do. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely put a load of episodes. We've done loads on this one. Put a load of
Tell you what it's called now. I'll find it. It's in my library.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, but just something that I've never even thought about. I'll put it in the show notes. I can't find it quick enough. But I mean, my missus goes mad because I listen to all sorts of weird stuff, and I'll come up with it. I'll be like, "What did you know of?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm not bothered."
Well, do you know, Gareth came down to the gym. We had Chris Howarter. We had Chris Howarter in for a seminar.
Awesome.
Oh, which is the most entertaining seminar we've ever had at the gym. It's brilliant. But Gareth came in and I said, Gareth, come in. And I gave him a hug. And I put my head, when I hugged him, over it would have been his right shoulder.
Right.
He went, no, stop. And he said, put your head over the other side. You should put your head always over the other person's left shoulder. He said, because hearts love hearts.
Ah, right.
Yeah, they love that heart connection.
That connection.
Yeah.
Mad, innit?
It is mad, mate.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So are we going to see you compete again at all? Polaris or anywhere like that?
Yeah. If I can get my weight down, because when I get my weight down, not if I get my weight down, because my little boy is chomping at the bit to fight. So if he's at a tournament, I'll go and do that tournament as well with him. So even though I do it through gritted teeth on the old IBJJF stuff, I will do more Polaris if I'm invited back. And I think I will. Hello.
Sorry, you froze then, Jeff. Sorry about that.
Did I?
Yeah,
where did we get to?
You're gonna if your boy wants to compete, you're gonna do the same comp.
Yeah. So I'll try and do that, and hopefully I'll get invited back for Polaris. And
I'm sure you will, mate. Because I was watching both of your appearances yesterday. Obviously, the first one didn't last very long, but it was an amazing fan favourite. I think it's the most viral competition that they've had on there, like that's gone viral online.
Yeah.
Your second one against Andy Roberts, and that was an amazing gi match as well. So
it's great. That was my third one on there. I lost the first one.
Oh, did you? All right.
Yeah, I thought I did a 10-minute round with Keith McKenzie from Surrey. checkmate, sorry, and he choked me in the last second.
Oh wow!
I didn't know what the time was, but it was good. That was a really good match.
Yeah.
Really good match. It wasn't the best one because he pulled guard straight away.
Yeah.
But that's his game. You know, he's not gonna. You know, so that's how sometimes the whole fights go.
So it was the second one against Paul Bridges, then, was it?
Second one was Paul Bridges.
What was your mindset going into that then? Did you think, I've got to perform this time and I've got to pull something out the bag? Or did you just play your game and obviously it worked?
I don't put any pressure on myself, David. So that's part of this new mindset that I've got. It's a bit warped, it's a bit weird, but at the end of the day, no one's going to care. You know, if I went and did another fight like that, they just get, everything forgets. If I lose, people forget. So it's, you know, that going back to almost the first thing we said in our conversation, wasn't it? Is about expectations.
Yeah.
If you put other people's expectations on you, that's inevitably going to mess you up. And that's throughout what I did throughout my entire early career of judo and MMA. I put other people's expectations on my shoulders. I think my all-round fighting is better now than it's ever been. You know, in this last 5 years, it's better now than it's ever been, because I haven't got the expectation of anyone. And if I relish getting lost, losing, I relish it, because you know, you cliche, you learn so much from losses, but it is a cliche, but it's true. And I don't mind. And I came to that realization when I did the Euros. I can't remember what it was now. I got a bronze medal. Each match that I approached, all I wanted to do was have a good fight. I didn't care what people thought. I didn't care if I lost my first fight, or, you know, that just doesn't occur to me anymore. It just doesn't.
I think you see that with a lot of high level grappling at the moment, where people will be invited back to come on these promotions, not necessarily because they win, but because they're entertaining fights. And I think that comes down to the mindset that you're on about, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. To promote what we do, they don't want to see you butt scooting into someone, pulling guard. They want to see a fight, you know. And I look at it as an opportunity to just showcase. People need to be entertained, and especially seeing as my friends run Polaris, so Matt Benyon, Ben Tong, and Gareth and Lee from Scramble. You know, they're my buddies. Both of those companies, Tatami and Scramble, have supported me for years and years and years and years. So the least I can do, you know, the least I can do is wear their stuff, but is put a good show on.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do. And I will literally go at it until I cannot go anymore. And that's what I did on my first fight. I went at it, and by the end of it, I went in for a really good submission attempt. This is the first fight in Polaris, and I was so exhausted. I just turtled up, and he just choked me. But
was that a gi match? Or was that no gi?
Gi match? Yeah, I wouldn't do no gi.
No,
I don't like it. Well, no, I've done it enough. I've done no gi with gloves.
Yeah.
But you've got to give it your all. You've got to, because otherwise, you know, I'm not protecting a record anymore. You know, I'm not, and I can understand for the younger people that are competing that you know that they're protecting records and stuff like that. But doesn't it become tedious?
Yeah.
And if you're not protecting a record, if you are actually fighting to your capability, doesn't it make it so much more exciting?
Yeah, definitely.
But that works for me. It doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah, we've been to a few of the Grapple Fest promotions up in Liverpool.
Yeah.
The last two competitions we've been to, and some of the matches that they've had on there have been amazing because people have embraced it and thought, I'm going to go out to give this Liverpool crowd a good show, not necessarily bothered about whether they win or lose. And I think the first time we watched Craig Jones against Adam Wazinski, he submitted him in like 30-40 seconds with a reverse triangle or something. And the second time, I think it was Craig Jones again, fought John Blank, and they both went out there like they had nothing to lose.
Exactly, and that's how you should do it. I think that's how it should be done. And if you don't do that, don't be surprised when you don't get asked back.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Well, Jeff, I appreciate you taking the time this morning to speak to us. It's been a great conversation. It's been good catching up with you. I don't know if you actually remember me from being at
I do. You're about 7 foot tall, aren't you?
Yeah, 6'4", yeah.
I do remember.
I remember I've still got the because it's the only time at Kevin's place when I had to. I've been the gauntlet and got whipped with the belt on the promotion. They didn't have that. What would you call it? They didn't have that ritual at the place where I got me a belt. No,
They don't.
No, they don't do it. No.
That's an interesting thing. I'd like to know how many places in the UK do that, because some do, and I thought about taking it out. And I said to my guys, I sat them down and I said, look, should we do this gauntlet? I'm just sort of carrying a tradition, and Chris Howarter went into the tradition of that as well. And it's not from the Brazilians. The tradition,
Americans So like Americans have took it.
I can't remember, but they used to do it. Someone was telling me about doing it in judo as well. But you only did it to kids in judo. This was years ago. This was, I'm talking years.
Yeah.
So where that tradition comes from, I can't quite remember. But anyway, so I sat my guys down and I said, I said, a lot of clubs aren't doing this anymore. I said, do you still want to do it? And before I'd finished saying it, they were like, yes, we want to do it.
Right.
And I know that some people don't like it. Some people dip out of it. And my guys seem to like it.
Yeah. I think maybe like it forms one of them human. I enjoyed it. Like I thought it was one of them. It brought everyone together. There was that connection. So it must do something to one of them human needs that we were talking about before. I don't know. I think it's just a bit of a rite of passage, and you know what I mean. Everyone
definitely.
Yeah.
Letting people love it in people.
Yeah.
Well,
fantastic, mate. It's been really good chatting to you anyway, Jeff, this morning. And hopefully in the future, you never know, I might see you soon. Might be coming down to Basingstoke or Bournemouth or...
Okay, buddy.
Cheers, Jeff. Thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, David.
You take care. Great talking to you. See ya.
Bye.